Well, out here today planting 2 kill plots. This is my dad's uncle's property. This is not where we have all the corn and beans food plots. I'll have 2 plots here this year. I planted this 2 years ago and the brassicas didn't do that good. This is pretty low ground. This is all like a little sunny, wide open patch, and the canary grass just filled in. And I sprayed this off like 3-4 weeks ago. This is just like a tiny little 15th, 20th of an acre, little 30 by 30 yard circle. I got a little bit bigger plot that way. That's probably like 1/8 of an acre, maybe 1/6 of an acre. I cut it out a little bigger this year. And you can see there's all this grass here. I'm gonna burn off all this grass and then literally just rip it up with the tires. This is wet enough ground. We just got an inch of rain 2 days ago. This should work up pretty good once I get this burnt off. And I'll do the same thing on the other plot. Just rip it up with the tires. I already burnt off some grass over there. And I'll be seeding the brassicas down. We don't get any rain. We're not gonna get any rain for a week here, but I gotta get out here when the ground is really wet like this so it works up good with the tires. Otherwise, if it's drier, it's not gonna work up that easy just by doing donuts. So I'm gonna burn off this grass with this torch. So got most of it burnt off. There's still some grass out there standing. I didn't get a 100% kill. There's some green stems here and there out there. But ripping it up with the 4-wheeler should take care of most of that live stuff. There's gonna be some that comes back. All right, so here we are. You can see this one is quite a bit bigger. It's not quite as wet. This was all buckthorn. The other spot was too wet for buckthorn to even grow. It was all canary grass. Like that'd be more similar to that type of ground. So I know this ground is a little bit drier. It's gonna take a little bit more to rip it up too. It's not quite as wet. There was a huge pile of brush right here I'd cut up. I just started to burn that today. That's why that's starting to smoke. But we 2 weeks ago we burnt off these brush piles. There's a big pile here, there was a pile right over there, and there was a pile right there, and another pile over there by that big dead ash right there. There's actually a little bit of area on this side of this little ditch that I'm gonna plant too. You see these big trees, big elm tree right there. I cut out lots of buckthorn that was in here. Yeah, you can see this little side over here is gonna get planted too. It's pretty much almost full sunlight, a lot of dead trees around. But yeah, I burnt off some of this grass too. Some of this grass didn't quite die 100%, this canary grass spot. But yeah, last year on the other side of this stump right here, I expanded this plot. All this is all gonna be new first year food plot. And then basically where this big stump is, this was the first area I started cutting. So all this was all brassicas last year. I think I had a video, I put it up on the screen of like a late season update in December. This whole area was just tracked up by deer. This tiny little brassica plot was sucking in deer from a whole bunch of brand new bucks showed up in the late season. But yeah, I had cut out some of it last year, but this year I really pushed the brush back and almost doubled the size of this little plot. So I still got some work to do next year. I'd like to maybe clean up that little cluster of brush, maybe a little bit more, but It's a lot of work. So yeah, I'm gonna start ripping up in here. This one's gonna take a little bit longer. So this right here is what I'll be planting in this brassica plot. I actually have a little bit of leftover seed right here. This is a mix of everything here. We got Antler King's honey hole. We got Imperial Whitetail Wintergreens. And this is a straight tillage radish seed, because neither one of these two mixes have any of the Dankin or tillage radish. And I actually have a little bit left over from a planting from Thursday. You can see all that green and yellow seed in there. Those are wintergreen seeds. All the red is honey hole. And then if you look, the bigger brown seeds are the tillage radish. So I got a little bit of that. I'm gonna probably barely even use that up. So I probably won't even need to add any extra here. I'll just throw that in the seeder, see how far I get, and mix up some more if I need it. All right, so I just got it all packed down. I think packing it down is really gonna help, especially because I don't see any seeds on top, which is perfect. Like right here's one seed. Like I said, we're not gonna get any rain this week. This soil is already very moist, plenty of moisture to germinate this stuff. And now, like if I would have just ripped it up, seeded it, and left it, I probably would have got some germination, but very little, because we're gonna be getting a lot of like upper 80s and 90s, full sun, just drying it out, the top inch or so of soil. And now that I basically incorporated all this seed, right there's a wintergreen seed, the yellow one. Here's another honey hole seed. I probably got about 75 to 90% of the seeds incorporated in the soil. I got everything packed down and leveled off a little bit. I had some ruts in here. Yeah, we'll see what it turns out to be. I don't know when the next time I'll be out here, probably a couple weeks. Well, here we are, back out here to this little brassica kill plot. Things are looking pretty good. Not sure how long this is after, but I probably already had it up on the screen. But you can see we got some tillage radish in here. We got the forage rapes and kales. And then this is a turnip right here. Few weeds in here. This is some water hemp coming in. This is some pretty dark ground too. But yeah, the spacing of the plants look pretty good. It doesn't look too thick, doesn't look too thin. Some bigger areas, some smaller areas. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Here's some more good comparisons. Like this is a kale, a forage rape plant. This is a purple top turnip right here. Another purple top turnip. That's a tillage radish right here. Yeah, there's definitely plenty of space in between the plants. It's actually probably a hair on the thin side. But last year I had this plot a little bit on the thick side, and the turnips only got to like golf ball sizes. This year we'll have some baseball and maybe even a few softball sized turnips in here. Oh, I gotta go check out the other side of that ditch over there, that little creek. Right over here on this little creek right here. Here's the other side of the plot. This is all brand new first year plot right here too. I guess there is kind of a lot of weeds in here too, even though this is a first year spot. It's looking all right. Some grass is coming in. Yeah, I'll see you in a couple weeks, I guess, when I get back out here to do another update. Well, yeah, right now it's looking pretty darn good. I left this dogwood plant alive. I may have sprayed him a little bit, but he's actually coming back to life. This dogwood stump. Like right here, you can see the deer eating on this water hemp. So there'll be some weeds in here for them to eat on early season. Then I got all the brassicas and stuff. This water hemp plant is hammered. Every leaf is nipped off practically. All right, so here I am back out here. This is the smaller of the two plots and the wetter one. And the brassicas are coming up, but you see all this grass? This is all just like marsh grass. This isn't weeds like quack grass. There is some canary grass in here, but this is all like marsh grass. And this is exactly what happened 2 years ago when I planted this. It might have even been 3 years ago by now. I did the same thing. I sprayed it off, burned it off, and ripped it all up with the four-wheeler. Threw some brassicas in here. The brassicas didn't grow that good. And I don't know how big these are gonna get, but they're looking all right now. They're maybe a little smaller than the other plot. Some of these are pretty small in here and they're yellowish. This is such wet ground, but you can just see that all this grass coming up is just gonna fill in. It was pretty much all canary grass that had taken over because it was probably 2 or 3 years since I had planted it. This short like sedge marsh grass stuff, this is only gonna get like probably like shin high by the end of the year, maybe even only ankle high. Doesn't get that tall. And then you can see the canary grass in here is still kind of alive with the roots and everything. But yeah, if I remember correctly, these brassicas only got like shin high 2 years ago when I planted them in here. Deer tracks everywhere in here. Yeah, I was hoping it would take a little bit better this time, but doesn't look like it's gonna. The grasses are just gonna fill back in, it looks like, but. Okay, so here we are. This is the final update on these two little brassica plots. This right here's the wetter one, the smaller one that really didn't turn out that good. You can see just a lot of this swamp grass is filled in. That's not like foxtail or canary. That's just like some native swamp sedge grass. And it's super thick in here. Here's a little bit of canary right here. But got a little bit of water hemp in here. But these brassicas, I mean, they're doing something. They're in here, but they're not that big. And you can see they're probably, I mean, the seeding rate was correct, but look at how small some of these ones are. Like that's a brassica right there. Here's another one. Here's another one. They're kind of yellowish and stuff. I don't think it's a nutrients deficiency. I think it's just too wet for them. You can see there's like literally standing water right here. We've had a pretty wet week. Usually there's not standing water in here, but when you get a lot of rain, there is. So I don't know if I'm gonna plan on planting this in the future. It's kind of just a waste of time. You know, there is some in here. This is a little purple top turnip. We do got a month left of growth, so there might be, these brassicas might double in size at best, but there's still just gonna be a lot of grass in here, and whatever's here is gonna be gone super fast. There ain't much here. I'll take you over to the next plot. That plot's actually looking like it's gonna, you know, be something worthwhile. That's looking pretty good. Okay, so here we are. This will probably be the final update on this brassica plot. It's looking really, really good. Like I said in the last update, on this side where I had brassicas last year, they're actually a little smaller than that side over there, and then some of this right up here where this is a first year plot. Probably just because, you know, there really isn't probably a whole lot of nutrients in this soil, and the plot I had here last year sucked up a lot of that nutrients. And that's why this new side over here looks better, because, you know, nothing's been planted here yet. It's a noticeable difference. I mean, look at how big these brassicas are right here. And then you come right over here where I had stuff last year. They're a little bit yellow, and look at how small they are. I mean, it's like a drastic drop. I mean, and then you get right here, you see this big ash tree? There was a cluster of buckthorn. See all that buckthorn around that ash? There's 2 dead ash out here. There was a big cluster of buckthorn around this that I cut out this spring when I was cutting out that side of the plot. And, you know, last year I had nothing planted right up to the base of that tree because it was a big cluster like that. And look at how big all them brassicas are right next to the tree where nothing was last year. And then right out here where I had something planted last year, they're noticeably a lot smaller. So next year I'm definitely gonna have to do a soil sample on this plot, and, you know, figure out what I need to bring in here to fertilizer. Probably just, you know, some phosphorus and potassium and a little bit of nitrogen. But usually in these darker ground soils, and higher organic matter soils, they usually have a little bit more free nitrogen in the soil than like a drier sandy plot would. So it's probably a little bit of a phosphorus and potassium issue, because you can see this plant's kind of purple. Well, the stems are purplish. I know phosphorus deficiencies, the plants would be purple, and potassium and nitrogen deficiencies, the plants would kind of be yellow, and that's what I'm seeing here, a little bit of everything. And then right over here, they're just triple, quadruple the size, nice dark green. And then boom, even the weeds over here are kind of yellow and shorter too. So a lot of this marsh grass coming in. But yeah, I'll take you over to the other, there's this little creek right here, right by that other big dead ash. I'll take you over there. That's a first year plot, first year section in this plot as well. But yeah, this is looking really good, especially this side. I mean, these are really starting to fill in nicely. There should be a pretty good amount of tonnage here. Purple top turnips are already the size of golf balls. This one's pulled out. This one's actually a little bigger than a golf ball, almost baseball. Last year I had this plot a little overseeded too. This year I had a little bit better, you know, not quite as thick. So there should be some pretty big sized turnips in here this year, especially in some of these sections. This tillage radish is pretty good already. Let's take a look at what it looks like over here. Pretty good. This over here is pretty shady. I didn't really expect it to do that good right here, but I knew it would probably do pretty good right in here. Full sun. So this is pretty much the only food plot. This one and the other little one, only 2 food plots I have on this property. I'd like to plant more here, but there's just no other areas I can really plant other than, you know, cutting out new areas like this. There's a big dogwood stump trying to regrow. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm trying to set up a few cameras here before the rain comes. The mosquitoes are freaking terrible out here, getting eaten alive. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. There'll be more Brassica's videos coming out.